In a league where rivalries often take center stage, and emotions run hot from buzzer to buzzer, a rare and unexpectedly tender moment has emerged, one that cuts through the competitive noise with something far more enduring: joy. The long-standing, on-court rivalry between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, two of the WNBA's most electric rising stars, hit pause this week, not because of a timeout, but because of love. Lexie Hull, the Indiana Fever guard and their mutual teammate, had a message for the world that had nothing to do with basketball and everything to do with the heart. She's engaged. And just like that, even the sharpest edges of this heated rivalry softened. The announcement wasn't loud or elaborate. It was quiet, elegant, just a black and white photo on Instagram, Lexie's hand gently resting in her fiancé Will Matheson's, the ring gleaming with understated pride. No long caption, no formal statement, just a simple emoji. And yet, in that stillness, it said everything. For Hull, this moment marked more than a personal milestone. It punctuated a year that's already been stacked with triumphs. After all, it was just weeks ago she helped lead Rose Basketball Club to the inaugural unrivaled 3x3 league title, proving once again that, whether it's hoops or life, she's not just along for the ride, she's a leader. But what truly made this engagement ripple through the sports world wasn't just the romance, it was the reaction, because this time, the focus didn't stay on the ring. It shifted to the unlikely emotional pause it triggered between two of the WNBA's most headline-grabbing figures: Caitlin Clark, the generational sharpshooter who's been the face of viral basketball moments for months, and Angel Reese, the fierce LSU champion who thrives off proving doubters wrong. Both hit the brakes on their feud to celebrate something bigger than competition. It wasn't a truce. It wasn't a scripted moment. It was raw, real, and deeply human. Clark's comment was pure, unfiltered happiness. Yeah, so happy. The kind of message that bursts out before you even think to proofread it. Reese, just as ecstatic, wrote, "Go big. Lexie, so happy for you," all caps. No holding back. These weren't the measured words of public relations teams. These were genuine reactions, the kind you get when something touches the heart before the mind even catches up. And just, like that, all the tension, the NCAA highlights, the viral clips of stare-downs and bravado, they vanished. For one moment, the only thing that mattered was Lexie's joy. To truly understand why this moment hit so differently, you have to rewind. Back to 2023, to the NCAA championship game that changed everything. Iowa versus LSU, Caitlin versus Angel. Nearly 10 million viewers tuned in, making it the most watched women's college basketball game in history. The clash was explosive, both in gameplay and personality. Reese's now iconic "you can't see me" gesture, Clark's deep threes and swagger. It was all fire, all spectacle, and it birthed a rivalry that carried all the way into the pros. Every WNBA article, every social media thread, someone was always comparing the two, pitting them against each other, feeding the narrative that only one could rise. But what if that narrative was wrong? What if beneath the competitive fireworks, there was something deeper, something rooted in mutual respect? Reese has hinted at it before. She's spoken about wanting to team up with Clark someday, about seeing her not as a rival, but as a peer. And Clark, for all her edge on the court, has never spoken with malice toward Angel. The media may have tried to frame them as enemies, but the truth? The truth is more layered, more human, and that truth showed up this week. Because in this moment, this brief, beautiful break from the game, they weren't rivals, they were teammates in spirit. Women who've battled through the same grind, who know the weight of expectation, who understand how hard it is to find something real and grounding in a life constantly on the move. And as Lexie Hull stepped into her next chapter, they stood, still with her, holding space for joy in a world that rarely slows down. Of course, the season's still looming, and when those preseason games tip off, emotions will come roaring back. For Clark, it means returning to Carver Hawkeye Arena, the court where her legend began. For Reese, it's Pete Maravich Assembly Center, the place that transformed her into a household name. These aren't just games on a schedule. They're homecomings, flashbacks, full-circle moments loaded with emotion, expectation, and legacy. The kind of matchups where old memories and new beginnings crash into each other under bright lights and louder crowds. But what this moment between the three women proves what Lexie's quiet announcement revealed is that there's still space in this league for connection, for softness, for something that isn't about ratings or rivalries or the next big viral clip. Because at the end of the day, this league isn't just about athleticism, it's about heart, and heart, more than anything, is what's making the WNBA rise. Not just in numbers, but in meaning. Lexie Hull's engagement was never supposed to be a headline. But in reminding everyone of the person behind the player, it did something even greater. It reminded us that these women, these icons, these fire starters, are also friends, daughters, teammates, humans. And for a league that's growing faster than ever, it's these moments that matter just as much as the ones on the scoreboard. Because when the buzzer sounds and the arena clears out, it's the relationships that last, the moments that weren't scripted, the bonds forged not just in wins but in weddings, not just in highlights but in heartbeats. So maybe this isn't the kind of drama the internet lives for. Maybe it won't trend like a buzzer beater or stir up debate the way a hard foul might. But it matters. It matters because it's real. Because for one fleeting second, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese weren't just the faces of a new generation of hoopers. They were two people cheering for a friend who found her forever. And in that moment, they reminded us all that there's more to the game than what happens between the lines. Because sometimes, what breaks the narrative isn't noise, it's silence. A pause, a ring, a smile. And in the middle of a league built on rivalries and resilience, it's these rare, raw flashes of joy that truly shine. Lexie Hull didn't just get engaged. She gave the league a reminder that even in the most intense competition, there's always room for love. What makes this moment even more powerful is the timing. The WNBA is entering a new era, one fueled not just by talent, but by visibility, by voices, and by the vulnerability of the women leading it. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese aren't just players, they're symbols of something bigger. They're young black and white women stepping into the spotlight, unafraid to be loud, bold, and unapologetically themselves. And when they pause to celebrate a teammate's engagement with unfiltered excitement, it sends a message that's louder than any highlight reel. It says that beneath the glitz, the pressure, and the media-made narratives, these athletes are showing up for each other. Not just as competitors, but as people. The engagement celebration also shines a rare light on Lexie Hull herself, someone who doesn't always make the front pages but has quietly become a glue piece on and off the court. She's not the one always in the headlines, but when she speaks, or posts, it carries weight. Hull has always exuded grace, grit, and a quiet leadership that balances the fire of teammates like Clark and Reese. Her journey from Stanford to the WNBA has been marked by consistency, poise, and resilience. And now, with this engagement, she steps further into the spotlight in her own way, not for a buzzer beater, but for building a life beyond the game. It's a different kind of legacy, and it reminds everyone watching that being a successful athlete doesn't mean sacrificing everything else. And let's not ignore what this moment means for the culture of women's sports. For so long, women athletes have been expected to pick a lane. Be fierce or be feminine. Be tough or be tender. Be focused or be emotional. But this shatters that false dichotomy. In one post, in one celebration, we see that it's possible and powerful to hold both. Lexie's engagement doesn't detract from her intensity on the court. Caitlin and Angel's excitement doesn't erase their competitive fire. In fact, it deepens the story. It shows fans, especially young girls, that strength and softness can coexist, that it's not a weakness to celebrate someone else's joy. It's a sign of maturity, of sisterhood, of understanding the full scope of what it means to be human. It also reveals something vital about the WNBA that often gets overlooked: the community. The league may be small compared to its male counterpart, but what it lacks in size, it makes up for in soul. These players travel together, sweat together, and grow together. They share locker rooms and late-night flights, heartbreaks and highlights. So when someone like Lexie gets engaged, it's not just her moment, it's everyone's. The celebration becomes communal, and the fact that two of the fiercest competitors in the league immediately set aside their pride to cheer her on, that tells you everything you need to know about the fabric of this league. It's stitched together with more than just stats. It's held together by stories, by shared struggles, by sisterhood.